Have you ever finished playing a single-player campaign, looked at the multiplayer and thought, nah, I'm good? In Splatoon 3, while the tutorial is showing you around, it points you to the online lobbies and says, if you start making waves in battles, everyone around here will know your name. And I thought that was weird, because as far as the game was concerned, that was a complete lie. Oh, and sorry about the footage, I don't have a capture card. As you rank up, you'll get new outfits, new weapons, but none of the NPCs do anything besides saying you can buy better gear. Other player NPCs never acknowledge you, Deep Cut never says anything, nothing happens. And it got me thinking, what's the point? More specifically, what can a game do to motivate players to engage with their online matchmaking system? The first thing is playing as a fun character. A lot of people love the classes in TF2 and jumped in to play as their favorite personality. Whether it's from the Meet the Whoever shorts or fan content like Putis and Gage, people will come to TF2 to play as the fun guy they saw online. Identifying with who you control connects you to the game in an emotional sense, but while having the character is fun, what are some ways online matchmaking could further boost the character of the characters? Getting unique dialogue, character-specific emotes, and unlocking character backstory can be strong motivators to keep playing the game. You like the characters, so you play to find out more about the characters. Unique character dialogue is something that Overwatch tries very hard to put in the game to give the characters some flavor. With mixed results. You should come visit me in Korea, Trace Lena, because I'm Korean. Okay. I will show you Korean hospitality, because I am Korean. No, right? There's no other in-game way to see this, so if you're interested in this kind of thing, experimenting with different character combinations can definitely make a player want to play more. This shouldn't be confused with something like Fortnite, where you can play as a character like Goku, but the character is entirely disjointed from how they would actually be in their source material. These types of things are cosmetic, which can be fun in its own way. Looking fresh is a way to display your personality to others that play the game, and finding something that you want to wear can give you something to work towards. One of my favorite examples of this was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the old one. You wanted the fall camo? You'd better line up 250 headshots. You want the heart title? Blow yourself up with a grenade and take someone with you. Looking good wasn't just for show, it also spoke to how you played the game. If you saw a cool title, you'd know the guy worked for it, and if you wanted it, you'd have to play the game and do the same. But nowadays, if someone has a great style in a game, what would you think first? That he unlocked it? Or that he bought it? Look at Apex. They have all these cosmetics for you to get, but they're all obtained with in-game currency. You get currency in engaging ways, such as gambling, leveling up, real money. It's a bit boring, huh? What made the golden guns in the original Modern Warfare so cool was that they were rare, and could only be obtained by being good at the game. But fortunately, innate personal improvement can be its own motivation. Getting better at the game just because you like getting better is something matchmaking can always foster. After all, you can't get good if you don't play. It's hard to say if games succeed or fail with this because this is based on intrinsic motivation. I mean, people play Injustice competitively, anything's fair game. If we want to talk about extrinsic motivation, we'll have to talk about prestige. Prestige is more about the external factors that motivate you to play and improve. Flexing on your friends with a hard to obtain item, ranking high on leaderboards, or even actually competing in esports. Many matchmaking games have a competitive ranked mode that ties your stats to a scoring system, and having a good position can act as a badge of honor. While having these rankings can be a boon, it can also be a double-edged sword. Fighting games often get balance patches that adjust how strong characters are, and this can sometimes invalidate a lot of the hard work you put in. Losing pressure options, other characters getting buffs, and new mechanics can alter the game to an unrecognizable state, overemphasizing certain aspects of the game or homogenizing others. It may be hard to see exactly how balance relates to prestige, but these gameplay changes can cause a player to crash and burn if they're on the dev team's naughty list. Maybe you wanted to rank high in League of Legends because you wanted to be the best AD carry you could be, but when a major balance patch changed the meta and nerfed your role, you found yourself losing matchups that used to be favorable. Your skill hasn't changed, but you need to change and relearn. Balancing is tough work, and my point here isn't to say that balancing should never happen. It's just something that can act as both a motivator and demotivator for people who are aiming for prestige. But your rank isn't the only thing you can increase. Many games include a leveling system that is tied to unlocking more game content. You can't use this gun until level 14, you can't get this upgrade until level 50, that kind of thing. It sounds shallow, and it is, but humans get a lot of pleasure out of progression. Look to the popularity of clicker games, which give you nothing but idle progression, for proof of that. And you never lose points like in a ranked mode, so even if you're on a losing streak, you still feel like you're working towards something. Similar to cosmetics, some companies decide to hide this progression behind a purchasable season pass. Perhaps this is fun to some, but the time constraint and the constant pressure to buy boosters turns it into a chore for me. Along with this, balance comes in again as well. If leveling is implemented poorly, skilled but low-level players may lose unfairly to unskilled high-level players. Higher levels should give options, but not raw advantages, as to avoid demotivating new players. No one wants to be oppressed for hours until the game grants them access to fun. But speaking of fun, the subjective fun of a game is something that's hard to argue. Some people will play a game you hate and enjoy it simply because they enjoy it, like Injustice. And even though they're wrong to enjoy something like that, I legally can't stop them. I'm also not legally allowed to own a firearm after assaulting a GameStop employee for recommending the game to me, which is the real injustice. Regardless, that hasn't stopped me from purchasing a sawed-off shotgun from a man I met behind the Chili's on McCain Boulevard in Little Rock, Arkansas on August 17, 2022 at 7:38 p.m. Balance appears once again since it can change how the game is played, and a game that ruined itself for me was Modern Warfare's Warzone. You could get fully kitted in minutes from a single drop, buying loadouts and allies was cheap, and because it was an unbalanced mess that made it fun to run around like an idiot, though I'd be hard-pressed to say it was good. But they spiked the prices and lowered the item spawn rates and turned it into a slower-paced game, which wasn't how I wanted to play, so I dropped it. I had it coming though for giving Activision my money, made a deal with the devil there. I brought up balance 3 times in a row, but something you can't balance is the social aspect. Voice comms, text chat, the culture. Sometimes you play games to talk to a bunch of weirdos online, and it can be a great time if you run into the right group. In some games you can even use emotes that other players can interact with, or put down custom sprays. Since you're all playing the same game, it gives you an easy conversation topic. The most important thing here is having a free and open chat of some sort. Some games try to work around this with a robust ping system, but the interactions are too simple to scratch the social itch. Along with this, many games ban people too readily for minor offenses, driving people to only use pings to avoid any risk. Even then, some games will ban you for pinging in a rude manner, if you get reported for it. Everyone knows the best way to build a community is to ban anyone who does anything, which is why Overwatch is free of any toxicity and has such a friendly community. Having rules is fine, but it should be to loosely guide the culture rather than strong-arm it. What I'm trying to say is it takes equilibrium. It takes equilibrium. Unless you're Nintendo and you force comms through a phone app. I'd rather reduce my corpus callosum by 14% than use a fucking app. They were the first to try it, and hopefully the last, but novel experiences aren't always bad. Roguelikes focus on variability, but a unique play session is something matchmaking can give just as well. Escape from Tarkov randomizes loot spawns and has a ton of different customization options for players to choose from. This means that even when you load into the same map, the different items, player loadouts, and even your goals can be different enough to make the experience fresh. Tarkov embraces novelty while other games try to keep things more consistent. Fighting games focus on fairness, so they keep mechanics equal. Your character will always have the same health, the same moveset, the same start location, universal mechanics, and more. The novelty comes exclusively from the other player's playstyle. I wouldn't say this is a bad thing at all, but clearly there's a different focus here. And finally we come to story, and honestly I can only think of one example, BioShock 2. As you leveled, you'd unlock audio logs about the multiplayer characters, and the logs would cover the civil war that happened in Rapture. It wasn't a ton of content, and you only got a vague idea about why the war happened even with these logs. But the potential's there, fellas. Let's go back to Splatoon 3 saying that everyone would know your name. What if, instead of nothing, you get to say, level 10, and in the next Deep Cut broadcast they did a normal announcement about the stages, but had an unskippable section at the end where they would say, "And we have some news about an up-and-coming splatter. It's you, bitch!" And then they pull the data they already take anyway and say, "Watch out! When they use the blah blobber, they're no joke!" And then Big Man says nothing, because he's a fucking loser. Wouldn't that be a little cool? What if the player characters wandering around town started waving to you, or asking for a little scripted photo op? What if Deep Cut actually interviewed you, and you got to chat with them for a bit? What if the Deep Sea Scrolls were obtained through leveling, since it doesn't make any sense for modern ads to be buried in Alterna? It doesn't have to be a lot, but no one's trying anything. I'd like to see more games try to appeal to as many of these concepts as possible. I know you've probably heard this a million times, but a lot of modern games don't capture me like they used to, and I think it's because of the way they monetize multiplayer. There's still room to innovate, but every company needs a season pass or wants to be the next esport or has in-game currency, and it's like I'm playing the same game every time. Can't I just unlock things and scream at people on a shitty mic like the good old days? Well, let's be optimistic. Hopefully, someday, a game will be released that ticks all of these boxes, and it really will be a match made in heaven.